Hey, fifth grade friends. This is Mrs. Salyer, and I'm going to be doing today's lesson, which is on rounding decimals. Before we get started, though, I'd like to review a little bit about what we've learned so far. And the first one is how to read a decimal. Of course, you have to say the decimal before you can read it or write it. Remember always that in this number, 1.946, the correct way to read it is not 1.946. You need to include the place values. So you start by saying the whole number first. 1. The decimal point says and. 1 and. Now, decimals, as I've taught you, have a first name and a last name. The first name is just the number that you see, which would be 946. The last name is the place value of the last digit, which is in the thousandths place. So that means that it's thousandths. So you would read this number as 1 and 946 thousandths. I want to share with you now another little trick I have that helps kids sometimes who are having trouble with place value. The trick is, if you will write the number 1 over the ones place and then fill in the others with zeros, and you look at this number on top, what do you have? You have 1,000. That means that the last digit is in the thousandths place. Let's try it again, taking off the 6. If I'm trying to figure out the place value of the digit 4, and I haven't just memorized it, or if I don't have my place value chart in front of me to look at, then I can do my trick. I'm going to put a 1 over the ones place, and I'm going to put in zeros. When I look on top, I see the number 100, so I know that the 4 is in the 100ths place. So today we're going to talk about rounding. And you may be rounding different digits, but there's a procedure that I want you to follow and a rhyme that I want you to think about. And this is how we're going to round decimals. Find the number. Look right next door. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. So the first thing that we're always going to do is to circle whatever we're rounding to. Remember that everything before the number stays. Everything after the number goes. Okay? So, if I'm going to be rounding this to the nearest tenth, the first thing I'm going to have to do is locate the digit in the tenths place and draw a circle around it. The 9 is in the tenths place. Okay? This 9 can only do one of two things. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to raise up. Okay? So remember the rhyme. Look next door. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. It's a 4. So that means we're going to let it rest, which means it's going to stay the same. So everything stays except what you're rounding to goes away. So what we're really asking is $1.94, if we thought about money, is it closer to $1.90 or is it closer to $2? And it would be $1.90. Okay, let's do a couple more. Let's say it's back to our original number. This time I'm going to ask you to round to the hundreds place. Does anyone remember what the first thing you always do when you're rounding is? Okay, I know someone out there is thinking it. You have to find the digit in the hundredths place and you're going to draw a ring around it, circle it. Okay, so the 4 is in the hundredths place. I'm going to look right next door. Next door is a 6. Remember, the number that's circled can only do one of two things. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to raise up. So the rhyme, Look right next door. If it's 5 or more, raise the score. If it's 4 or less, let it rest. That's 5 or more, so I'm going to raise the score, which means this 4 is going to turn into a 5. And you can leave off everything after, or you can put in a 0. I prefer for you just to drop it off, like so, okay? So everything after what you've circled will go away. Let's use this same number one more time. This was rounded to the tenths. This was rounded to the hundredths. Now I'm going to ask you to think about rounding this to the nearest whole number. Okay? So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to identify what is the whole number or the digit in the ones place. In this number, it's the 1. So I'm going to draw a ring around it. I'm going to look next door. Next door tells me what to do. That 1 is only going to do one of 2 things. It's going to stay the same, or it's going to raise up. So, look next door. If it's 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. It's more than 5, which means I'm going to raise this up. And remember, everything after goes away. So, this number is closer to 2 than it is to 1. So, what we're going to do right now, I would like for us to do a few more examples together before I turn you off to do some work on your own. Here's some practice we're going to do together. Of course, what you're learning is rounding decimals. I can use place value understanding to round decimals to any place. And here's our procedure that we talked about. Circle the digit that you are rounding to. Underline the digit to the right, that's the neighbor. If the digit is 5 or more, round it up. Raise the score. If not, keep it as it is. Let it rest. The rest of the digits become zeros, or you can just leave them off. So, if I'm rounding this number 27 and 589 thousandths to the nearest tenth, I'm going to have to locate the digit in the tenths place, which is the 5. I'm going to look next door. If it's 5 or more, I'm going to raise the score. It is 5 or more, so that means I'm going to round this number to 27 and 6/10. Everything behind that number can go away, or it can become a 0. I think it's easier if you just let it go. Let's look at our next one. 3 and 648 thousandths. In this number, I want to round it to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to circle the digit in the hundredths place. I'm going to underline the number next door. And remember my rhyme. If it's 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or below, let it rest. So it's 5 or more, so I'm going to raise that score. That means the 4 is going to become a 5. And everything after goes away. Now that you're getting the hang of it, you're going to have an opportunity to do some practicing on your own. What I'm going to do below this video is I'm going to give you a PDF that you can print out if you're able to of our rounding decimals reference sheet. If you are not able to print, then I would suggest that you copy all of this down into your math journal so that you can refer to it to help you know what to do. Find the number, circle it. Look right next door. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. This number is rounding to the nearest tenth. We've circled the tenth. We've underlined right next door. We see that it's 5 or more, so we're going to raise the score. And everything after can either go away or it can turn into zeros. Everything before the number stays the same. Good luck with your rounding of decimals. Be sure to let me know if you have any questions. And also, here's a little special surprise for you watching this video. If you watched this video and you're Mrs. Irvin's student, send her a message that you watched the rounding decimals video. If you are one of my students, Mrs. Salyers, send me a message that you watched the rounding decimals video. And everyone who watched this video is going to have an extra credit grade of a 100 added to our grade book for math for you. That's just to appreciate you watching the videos and trying to learn. So don't forget to send the notes to your teacher so you can get that 100. Have a great day.